social studies, we know something's important when they put it in bold, right? So if you see something in bold when you're reading and you don't know what that means, you need to make a note to go back and look it up because obviously it's going to be really important. All right, so that was under the market revolution. So let's look at our graphic organizer. Were there any names in this first category? We don't see any names there. Were there important dates or places?
Yes.
19th century.
All right, 19th century. So let's put that down. And then for places, what'd you say, Chris?
It was the Erie Canal.
And we're talking about the Erie Canal, right? All right, the next one is vocabulary words.
Market revolution.
Definitely things that are bold, we want to write down as vocabulary words. Now, if you're going to write it there, leave a little space before you put another word so that either from the text you can also write a definition, or you can go back later and remind yourself, hey, these were some vocab words I don't know that I need to look up. All right?
Miss Berry?
Yes?
I received Deanna Myler in guidance.
We're in the middle of a lesson. Would it be okay if I send her a little bit later?
That'd be great. Thank
you. Okay. So market revolution we have down. So do you know what that is yet enough to really put a good definition? So let's wait and let's see if we learn about it enough in the text that you can put a student-friendly definition, and if not, what will we do? Then we'll look it up. All right. And then under notes, anybody want to make an attempt to
People
just...
increasingly bought and sold goods rather than make it.
Okay.
A lot of changes came
They rather.
Erie Canal.
Okay, I like what you just said. You repeated, though, exactly word for word part of the sentence, and when you're making a note in your own words, you want to shorten it.
People decided it'd be easier to buy than make.
Okay, hold that thought. What did you say?
I said the Erie Canal made changes.
Okay, you're right, but I think when we're just making a general note at first and practicing this, the Erie Canal brought changes, right? I think that's the takeaway is there's this thing called a market revolution that happened, and it brought big economic changes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you need to make the connection that the Erie Canal brought big changes, okay? All right, so if you put that in notes, now you'll see that the next section down says U.S. markets expand, and when you look at the next page,
Can you read it?
I don't, and here's why. Here's what I want you to do. The next two sections says U.S. markets expand and inventions and improvements, okay? Those are the two sections. Do you see how they're in bold print? It's a little hard to tell in this copy. Do you see that those are the next two headings? Underline those two headings where it says U.S. markets expand and inventions and improvements. Okay, and that goes all the way this page. We're not going to look yet at the bottom because we're going to talk about another way to kind of make some notes about things that are pictures and captions. But those two sections cover the top of this page and then a little bit on the next page. Where it says the market revolution transforms, don't do that part yet. All right, so here's what I'm going to have you do. I'm going to have Chris, I'm going to have you and Deanna work together, and I want you to talk about it together, talk about, hey, where do you think we can chunk this? What are some things we could put on our graphic organizer? We're going to work on that part together. I'll have you two sit over there in just a second, not yet. You're going to sit over there, you're going to join them, and I want you guys to do the same thing, okay? And then we're going to come back together. I want to see if you guys chunked it the same way that y'all did, and then we'll look at the graphic organizers and see if you got the big takeaways that you need to get. Sound like a plan? Questions? Okay, and I'm going to come around and listen. If you have a question, you're more than welcome to ask me, but there's not a wrong way to do it. I really want to see how you're able to do this working with a partner, okay? All right. But ask me if you have a question, okay?
In the 1840s alone, the national economy grew more than it had in the first 40 years of the century. The century pace of U.S. economy grew conceded with the growth of free enterprise. The freedom of private business to operate completely for profit and with little government regulation. In their pursuit of profit, businessmen called
Okay, can I stop everybody for just a second because I noticed something that before you go further, I want to go ahead and say something about it, okay? You're doing fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
But remember, as we were reading, we stopped in each sentence to chunk, right? If you want to read the whole sentence and then go back and chunk, that's okay.
That's what I
But
was
that's
doing.
kind of going to take up a little more time. And the purpose is that we want to, as we're reading the sentence, and you don't have to do it as obviously as I did and go, okay, let's stop here. Do we want to underline? You don't have to take that much time with it. But as you're reading, you might say, can I borrow your pencil?
Mhm.
Over a few decades, buying and selling multiplied. Okay, let's make a mark there. While incomes rose. In the 1840s, oh, hey, Chris, that's a date. Let's make a mark there. Do you see what I'm saying? So you could read the whole paragraph and then go back and do it, but the point of chunking is that you're doing it as you read,
Yes, ma'am.
and then you're going to go back at the end of the paragraph and put it on your graphic organizer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Okay, so keep going.
Okay. I think we should chunk after the national economy because it grew by itself.
Where are we at?
Right here. It says alone the national economy grew more than it had
I think we should put it right here
after
because
40 years. Like
could-
slash after 40 years.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because it's it right there.
And
The quickening pace of the United States economy grew continuously or whatever.
We're gonna put that in vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I don't know what
The
that
big
means.
word right here. Underline that. Because we can keep up with it like that. But I think after that word up there, we should put a slash.
Yeah, because we'll put that in our thing, and then
Freedom of private. Freedom of private business. So they had like freedom of private business, social like that.
Okay, so have you guys chunked your first paragraph?
it's almost
something
something
that like this would be in our vocabulary too.
Okay, and so now you're moving on to this. Okay, where's yours? Because I want to make sure that you're getting yours. Everybody needs to, rather than just having one per group, but everybody, because you're going to use this as your study guide to go back and prepare to.
In the first paragraph, there was no important names. Okay, names.
Did y'all see any important names in the first paragraph?
No,
Okay,
we just saw two bold,
Bold words, and we also saw a date and a
year.
Good.
years.
okay, good, keep going. Okay, I see you all writing things, but I want to hear you talk to each other, make sure you're on the same page with it. So share with each other what it is you're writing down. Brooklyn, what's something that you wrote down in the vocabulary words?
Free enterprise. Cause it was in bold.
So I see where you made your chunk marks, so that's great. And then what did we say about words that are in bold? That they're probably what? They're in bold for a reason, which is what?
I think there's something
They're
else there.
important.
No, from the French.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big idea, so it's important, so those are definitely things that you need to write down. So when you have vocabulary words right here, anytime you see bold words. And if I ask you right now to tell me what an entrepreneur is, could you? So that's the reason you need to write it down, because if you don't know it when you see it, you need to make a note to say, hey, I don't know what that is, and when I get done reading, if I still don't know what it is, I need to look it up. Okay. Michaela, what date did you write down?
Losing their investment.
I put 1840.
Okay, good. Did you, everybody put that down? Okay, so just make sure you're talking about this, okay?
Do we put the important years too?
Absolutely. Dates, places, people's names. Especially in social studies, what are the things that you see a lot on tests? When you're studying social studies, you're studying history, right? And what are the important things about history? The events, the dates, and the people's names, right? Okay.
We don't have important dates.
So you know you're going to see those. And also vocabulary. Isn't there always a vocabulary section on your history tests?
Okay, no, I'm gonna say it made the economy
Sometimes,
better.
probably most of the time, but you'll see those words again anyway.
Important names. We don't have any important places. But we do have vocabulary.
We have two of them.
The main idea was
Compete.
I made the notes. I filled them up notes. I said it made the economy better.
And
then the other bold words.
I didn't
Them
put
two.
the bold word
No, those are the important vocabulary. Cause they're bold.
I thought you
Okay, what's your question?
Alright,
were. I
these are
thought
the important
you
vocabulary
said
'cause they're bold, right?
find the vocabulary we don't know.
Both. It's both.
Okay, so I
If
did it
this,
right.
if a piece of text puts a word in bold, they're telling
Mhm.
you, hey, this is an important word,
Like
pay
it's
attention to
spoken
this.
Okay.
But it's very possible that there are other words that they didn't bold because they might assume that you know them, or they might just not be words that are maybe as important as the bolded words. But absolutely, if you come across a word that's not bold that you don't know, write it down.
Okay.
That's a perfect use
Okay.
of this strategy to make sure that you go back later and either, sometimes by the time you get to the end, it will give you some context clues and you'll know what the word means. But if you don't, you absolutely need to look it up.
And then with the important, can we put the important note is that like they increased more and more.
More and more what? Be slightly more specific.
It's more and more money.
More and more
For
money and like
Factories and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
supplies and stuff.
so say that in a short.
Be like
And I said use, maybe 10 words or less, and it doesn't have to be a complete sentence, although that may be the best way for you to put it down. But even if you wanted to put bullet points, guys, on your notes, if you want to put bullet points of these are the
I'll put,
3 big things,
Quotations, like around the
you put a
important
quote. Okay, you can do that too. If there was a quote in it that you thought was the main idea of that passage, you could put that there.
increased in money and supplies.
Okay, that'll work. Good job.
Okay, we're on the next paragraph. You can read it.
When you finish those 2, let me know, and we'll come back and we'll kind of share
The
Yes, ma'am.
travel.
what both groups have.
Okay.
The travel's a lot better.
Inventors, entrepreneurs began to develop goods to make life more comfortable for some people, while some inventions simply made.
Do we need to go on the market revolution, the market revolution and transformations of the nation? Or is it-
I wanted you to do the U.S. markets expand, inventions and improvements, which finishes right here. But no, don't go on to that market revolution. We just want to look at the first 2 together.
Well, I guess we still need.
Then I'm going to let you do it on your own.
The economic
Okay, but just with partners right now, just do the first 2.
Transportation, and communication.
I'm gonna chunk this way
We
off.
didn't have any more than words because it's like telling you that it changed their lives. And then, I don't see more. You see that?
Nope.
Okay.
New communication links began to put people into instant contact with one another.
You're gonna put
Okay,
people
so
in instant contact with one another.
I was trying to look for it.
So
I
just
see
put
what
it
you're
on
writing
the
stuff
sentence.
down, and I see that you're writing
In
names and dates and
1837.
things that are good. But you're not communicating with your partners what you're doing.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Samuel F. B. Morris for the next important name, and then Claremont for a place.
Okay, did you put Samuel B. Morse down as well?
Cause
Okay.
Claremont was italicized, like really fine writing.
Okay,
So it's a place, so I'm assuming it's important.
absolutely.
I'm
Good
gonna
job.
underline it in my notes.
Where's this one?
And there was no really good vocabulary words.
You didn't find any?
And I checked both pages. And I
Okay,
just-
so I see in the first paragraph you did the 2 that were in bold, right?
I
So in
looked
this,
for
bless you.
non-bold.
So in this second section, under inventions and improvements, you didn't see any vocabulary words that either were bold or that you weren't familiar
Or
with.
italicized, no
Or
man.
italicized, okay.
No man. I
All
never
right, have
did
you
that.
gotten through the second paragraph, guys? We can come back together and look at
No,
it and compare? Okay,
we're on the
Yeah,
6th
bro.
paragraph.
okay.
A New England artist.
What about
found the
telegraph?
Telegraph.
I know what a
With
telegraph
some
is.
messages.
Do you know what a
that comes
telegraph is?
over the wire.
Okay, so you might know what it is, but if you don't know what it is, then that's one that you need to write down and
It's
look
like a
up.
telephone, but like
Communication device.
it's
Transmit orders.
it's one of the
and
first
relay
cell
up to
phones, but you can still talk to
information
somebody.
on prices and
but
sales.
not as
New
far away.
railroads
Okay.
employee the
So
telegraph.
they're all under.
And you have to
Key
have
change,
cords to
move
You're
connect
next
the
close,
phones.
but you're just enough
and-
off that you
and
probably are
warn
gonna wanna look it
engineers
up.
Of safety hazards.
Telegraph?
Standard